We begin in a lake, grayish-blue and tranquil. It's currently home to a couple. As they swim through it serenely, a man's voice can be heard over the scene. He tells of his love for a woman, Charlotte, who he would do anything for. He would even freeze time to be with her. His love is not one-sided. His declaration is met with that of a woman. She tells the man, Hal, that she'll accept his love and dance to it. We come to discover that they were swimming through Sway Lake, after which a hit song was named. An old tourism advertisement for the lake is currently being played, and they're inviting everyone to come check the place out. They mention Hal and Charlie, a war hero, and his wife, who held their wedding at the lake. The lake is beautiful, and the visitors couldn't be more happy to be there. Yet when we cut to the year 1992, the lake that was once full of people is now empty and frozen over. One sole person remains, and he's looking across the lake with a somber expression. After one final look into the freezing water, all that is left of the man are his clothes, already covered in snow, and a half-empty bottle of whiskey. The cabin by the lake is empty and silent, save for the record player that is scratching a vinyl as it loops over nothing. It's summer again, and the weather brings out the best of Sway Lake. Sunshine filtering through the leaves, its yellow glow reflecting off the warm water. As it turns out, the now-deceased man was Hal and Charlotte's son. It's been 5 months since he passed away, and their grandson, Ollie, is making a trip to the lake. But he's not there to mourn or grieve. What he's after is a valuable '78 record from the house. It's the original Sway Lake record, performed and painted by the original singer, on Hal and Charlotte's wedding night. Taking the record and making a run for it. They can't open the record, he warns his Russian friend, Nikolai, or it'll lose its value. Clearly, he's put some thought into this heist. He's a music collector. He knows the value that this thing holds, and above all else, he thinks he's entitled to it. It's been in his family for decades, after all. Ollie and Nikolai are somewhat eccentric figures. Both are orphans, holding disdain for the state of the modern world. More importantly, both believe stealing is moral when it's in the name of love, loyalty, honor, and verve. Those are the 3 values they promised to uphold during this mission. Let's see how they do. They've made it to his grandmother's house, and what a beautiful house it is. That doesn't seem to matter to Ollie, though. He wastes no time to facing the front door, breaking the glass and opening the lock. Only after the fact does he step back and admire the view in front of him, eyeing the Sway sign that hangs overhead. Still, there's only one thing on his mind. While Nikolai stands there, bags in hand, in awe of the living room, Ollie barges his way to the record player. He slaps away Charlotte's sign, asking them not to use the record player without permission, and begins rummaging through the drawers. Nikolai, on the other hand, seems to have a conscience. When he sees the note on the bed asking them not to place their bags on the beds, he complies right away. But his conscience doesn't stretch too far, and he quickly begins picking up whatever valuables he can get his hands on from around the house. Halfway through their search, they hear some chatter from the lake. They're not worried about being caught. Not at all. They just want to have fun. While Nikolai manages to do that, with him jumping into the water, Ollie is stopped in his tracks. The second he lays eyes on the lake, he remembers that cold winter day when his dad took. But he's quickly distracted by the gorgeous purple-haired girl he sees, so at least we know he's not too down about it. Nikolai can't keep his hands to himself, both around objects and people. Within seconds of being in the water, he manages to pick a fight with the other people there. When they discover that Ollie is the owner of the property, they scurry away. At least they left their beers. It's dinner time, and as they enjoy some delicious steak and a beer, Ollie runs Nikolai through his plan to find the record. But don't be fooled, they're not that serious about this endeavor. They've had too much to drink, it seems. They abandon their plans for the night and mess around with the props and costumes they find in the house. As an old record plays, the 2 play fight around the house, destroying nearly every trinket and piece of furniture they cross paths with. Once they've had enough of the place, they hurry outside and get in a guideboat to sail across the lake. They get to a bar. Ollie's mind is set on finding the purple-haired girl he saw earlier that day at the lake. He can't find her, but Nikolai tries his best to keep his hopes up. He successfully sets him up with 3 girls. On their drive to the house, he asks about his newfound crush, purple-haired girl. Nikolai hit the jackpot, it seems. The girls tell him his crush's name is Isadora. Back at the house, he tries telling the girls about the records he plays, but they're not interested. His evening ends up dreary, but his night is even worse. In his dreams, he's plagued by Sway Lake, covered in snow and frozen over. His dad is there too, asking him about his record collection. They're collectors. It's what they do, and it's why Ollie is so adamant on finding the '78 records. The next morning, Nikolai quickly gets to work, looking through the house for any valuable items. He looks through letters, diaries, and pictures, imagining the life Ollie's ancestors led. He doesn't hold himself back, it seems. Throwing caution to the wind, he swims through the lake and makes his way across the property. Bad idea, since he runs into Ollie's grandmother, Charlotte, and her helper. He quickly apologizes to her and tells her he's here with Ollie. Just in time, the other man runs out of the house. After exchanging greetings, Charlotte tells him she's selling the place in the fall. They run back to the house, and Ollie expresses his disbelief at the fact that she's going to sell the house. He's packing up his things in a hurry. Nikolai reminds him of the mission, and that is enough to ground the other man into staying. At dinner time, Charlotte can't help but make remarks about Ollie's attire and get up, but he's not having any of it. The two are clearly not on good terms, and Charlotte isn't in a good state overall. Sitting at the desk reading her letters, she begins hallucinating her late husband playing the piano across the room. She misses him dearly, and it shows. The stars are out tonight, but Ollie is too busy with two matters to notice. The first matter is the record that he's looking for in the attic. The second matter is the purple-haired girl. Though they haven't spoken, and she hasn't even looked at him, he's already declaring his love for her. That same night, he has another nightmare. This time, his father suffocates him with a crate full of records over his chest, mirroring the ice that froze over him after he jumped into the lake. Ollie's guilt is weighing over him heavily, but he didn't even go to the funeral. Still, he's determined to get the mission over with. The next day, he's back to searching with Nikolai. He tells him how to spot 78s and explains why his father hid the record. Nikolai is still engrossed in the diary he found the other day, reading the logs from the Second World War. He goes to fix the racing boat and has to ask Charlotte for a valve, but she's unhelpful. She has a bone to pick with everyone, I guess. Yet he complies with her order to clean up the grounds, clearing out all the trash they left behind with Ollie. They spend a good day at the house, chasing trespassers away from the lake, drinking medicinal liquids they find in a shack, and boating across the waters. To Ollie's delight, he spots the purple-haired girl again, throwing an imaginary Cupid's arrow at her. He wants her to fall in love with him, but he won't even go up and talk to her. Back inside, Ollie helps Charlotte clear out a mouse from her room. On the way out, he asks her about the pile of letters in front of her. She explains that they're condolence letters for her son's passing, and she doesn't know what to do with them. Instead of replying, she should burn them, Nikolai suggests. But once again, Charlotte is having none of it. She tells him that Timmy, Ollie's late father, cursed the place when he took. Ollie overhears their conversation, and he complains to Nikolai about him helping his grandma out. They go to a boat store, Nikolai hoping to get some new motor for his boat. Just outside, Ollie sees Isadora struggling with her boat. When he helps her, his efforts aren't appreciated. She's still mad at Nikolai for the fight he caused at the lake that first day. He tried to drown her friend, she says, but Ollie defends him. She's not as unfriendly as she initially came off, and she tells Ollie that she's sorry for his loss. Her motor's acting up again, but Nikolai strolls up just in time. He gets in the boat and starts the engine with one pull. Isadora is in awe, but Ollie is filled with jealousy. Back at the house, Charlotte asks her helper if there's been any sign of it. What it is, we don't know yet, but more importantly, her helper hasn't found it yet. The night takes a mischievous turn for the two men. They boat out to a nearby camping site, and over the bonfire and chatter, they make some threats over a megaphone. The people there can see their boat, of course, but the two are satisfied with their own antics. On the way back, Nikolai and Ollie talk about Ollie's feelings. Instead of admitting to the pain he feels over his father's passing, he says he needs to find a girl who's into old records, as if that would fix everything. Despite saying that no girl is worth the pain nowadays, Nikolai dreams of one that very night. As he walks through the dark house, he recounts the letters he read, detailing Hal's love for Charlotte. Nikolai's late-night wanderings seem to have inspired him. The next morning, he sets up Charlotte's writing desk outside, just in front of the lake. This way, she'll be able to work through the loss of her husband and son more effectively. She's always loved the lake, but she hasn't been able to stand in front of it ever since Timmy took. But standing there now with her desk makes her recount the beautiful memories she has of the place. Nikolai sees Ollie spying on Isadora and comes up with a plan. He takes the car into the town with Charlotte, driving her to a court hearing about ship docks. She isn't on board with the idea, given the pollution it would cause in the lake. The townsfolk storm out after hearing her rejection, and when Charlotte begins hallucinating again, Nikolai helps her out of the building. Back home, Ollie hears Marlena, the helper, crying while doing the dishes. She sings praises about his father, lamenting over the fact that he passed away. Next, she discloses some crucial information. Charlotte has been asking Marlena to find a record that she says is very important and expensive. She also expresses her distrust for Nikolai, and she's not wrong for it. He's building his collection of jewelry and trinkets that he's been quietly stealing from Charlotte these past few days. Later that evening, Charlotte brings them some Moscow mules as they go through Timmy's record collection. They're both after the 78 record, so the tensions are high. Their search is cut short thanks to a power outage courtesy of the storm outside. They can't fix the generators, so they eat dinner by candlelight. Charlotte and Nikolai are getting along quite well now, with Charlotte recalling her glory days with Hal. When Nikolai starts talking about his childhood in Russia, Ollie loses it. He gets up from the table abruptly, breaking a glass on his way. As Marlena comforts him in the kitchen, they hear mice squeaking from the floor above them. When Ollie goes to take care of it, he finds a secret passageway that leads him to a small room in the attic. Fate is on Ollie's side today, it seems, because the attic is full of unseen records and letters. This must be the collection that Ollie has been dreaming of finding. He breaks down in tears as he goes through all the stuff Timmy has been stockpiling here over the years, from childhood photos to letters from Charlotte. Right before the power comes back on, he hits gold. He's found the 78 record in all its glory. But finding the hidden collection has only made his anxiety worse. His father's memory that was plaguing him in his nightmares has begun haunting him in his waking life. This time, he asks Ollie if he's finally happy. The next day, Ollie walks around a camp in town, searching for Isadora. He finds her cleaning a room but is still too scared to approach her. She finds him snooping, but she isn't too put off by his creepiness. She invites him to a party, but before their conversation continues, Isadora's manager joins them. She chastises Isadora for talking to Ollie while on the job, but he takes the blame for it and tells her he was looking for his grandmother's cabin. Meanwhile, back home, Marlena climbs into the hidden room Ollie found the day before. It seems like it was not so secret after all. It seems like she couldn't identify the 78 record on her own and was hoping Ollie would do it for her. She misjudged the situation, though, and she now has to find where Ollie hid it. She tells Charlotte about the lost record, but the older woman accuses Marlena of stealing it. It's later that night, and Ollie and Nikolai are at the party Isadora mentioned. Ollie should be far from worrying now that he found the record, but he's going around the place searching for Isadora in a panicked state. He finds her making out with some guy and storms away from the building. She follows him right away, asking him what he's doing. She's confused about the mixed signals he's sending her, but he still won't make his mind up despite that. He leaves the party with Nikolai, who decides to mess up the jet skis halfway through their boat ride. The next morning, Ollie wakes up to find Nikolai gone. He's just at the lake though, and when Ollie gets there, he notices smoke coming from the cabins across the lake. He's worried about the fire the jet skis caused, but Nikolai tells him no one got hurt. Some time later, Isadora comes by the house. Charlotte shows her the way to Ollie, and she finds him talking to Nikolai by the lake. She knows that they messed up the jet skis last night and says she'll turn them in. Her words are an empty threat though, and she quickly asks to ride the newly renovated boat with Ollie. The boat works fantastically thanks to Nikolai's handiwork, and the pair cruise across the beautiful lake. In the middle of their journey, the boat breaks down. Ollie thinks Nikolai set him up, but Isadora is happy she'll get to spend more time with him. Meanwhile, Nikolai goes to check up on Charlotte, who's tending to her garden. He tells her about the jet skis, citing her as the reason for why he did that. He understands how important the lake is to her, and he doesn't want her to see it get ruined by the modernization. He probably expected her to be grateful for his gesture, but she regards him with disdain after he finishes his little speech. She tries to exit the conversation, saying Marlena needs her in the kitchen, but Nikolai insists that the lake will always be here for her. On the other side of the lake, Ollie and Isadora are being rained down on. They sit there and talk about music as Ollie attempts to row his way to the shore. Isadora loves sad music, but the Sway Lake song is too perfect for her taste. She likes songs with a little soul. They start talking about Sway Lake. While Isadora expresses how much she misses the town even when she's there, Ollie says he'd leave it all behind at any given time. She doesn't believe him, though. When they get to the shore, they use the branches as a makeshift towel rack. She decides to teach him an indie technique called Tantric breathing. In short, it involves a lot of kissing. When they're done, he invites her over for dinner, but she declines. The Sway family scares her, she says. On his way back home, Ollie sees Nikolai in his car. He's driving to the store to get Charlotte some champagne. When Ollie tells him that he finally asked Isadora out, Nikolai starts downgrading her. He says Ollie can do a lot better, which upsets him. Ollie's train of thought is quickly derailed by the button he sees on Nikolai's shirt. Now distracted, and given that Isadora rejected him, Ollie doesn't argue with Nikolai. Instead, he agrees to move on and continues his walk back home. When he's home, Ollie looks through the drawers. He's searching for Nikolai's secret stash that he knows he's keeping. He finds all of Charlotte's belongings that Nikolai has been hiding, and though his reaction to it is hard to read, we can tell he isn't happy. Later, while preparing dinner, he asks Marlena about the 78. She tells him she's going to be fired because she can't find it, and Ollie tells her to look through the drawers for it. She complies with his request, and when she finds it, she immediately brings the drawer to Charlotte. Charlotte sees all the stuff Nikolai has been taking from her, but she doesn't call the police on him. Ollie tells Marlena not to turn Nikolai in. It seems like this was more about making Charlotte happy than it was about setting Nikolai up. In the other part of the house, Charlotte is working through her complicated emotions. She set up a bath for herself, and as she plunges underneath the water, she's taken back to her swim with Hal. It's reminiscent of the first scene of the film, where the couple are swimming together happily. It's dinner time now, and the table is set up beautifully. Isadora didn't reject him after all. She's come by the house, equipped with flowers that she claims are for Charlotte. Nikolai goes to fetch the older lady from the house, and when they arrive, she looks happier than ever. Ollie is shocked at her demeanor, to say the least. He expected her to be at least a bit mad at Nikolai for his thievery. When they sit down to eat, Nikolai says a short prayer. They dig in, and Charlotte starts asking Isadora about her family. They're not nearly as rich as the Sways. That much is evident by the face Charlotte makes when she hears her family name. Ollie tells Charlotte to lay off the questions, but as expected, she doesn't comply. Isadora takes her questions in stride, talking about her plans to open a hotel in the future. Charlotte briefly wishes her luck with her dreams before talking about her own father's wealth. Annoyed by her bragging, Ollie asks Charlotte if she's ever worked for anything in her life. She tells him her motherly duties were enough, but Ollie begs to differ. Timmy was practically raised by his nanny, and when he grew older, he was given money to leave Charlotte and Hal alone. Charlotte says Timmy was a miserable man who had an unhappy soul. When she says that it would have been better if Timmy was never born, Ollie goes from distraught to downright disbelieving. He runs out of the room, but Charlotte doesn't miss a beat. The second he's gone, she starts complaining about Ollie's emotionality. Isadora stands her ground, saying it's healthy to show emotions. When she tries to further argue for her point, Nikolai interrupts her, siding with Charlotte. Before their argument can continue, Ollie comes back with a wooden box. He grabs the '78 record that was sitting there and begins ripping up the cover. He takes the record out of its cover and quickly places it in the player. The second the first note plays, Ollie and Charlotte's composures break. Over the sound of Sway Lake, Ollie talks about the composer's life. His name was Tweed McKay. He recorded it in the very barn they're having dinner in, and despite the song's great success, he perished without a single penny to his name. His voice is full of regret in the recording, but that's what makes the song perfect. Charlotte tells Ollie that he's becoming much like his father, who spent his days listening to sad records. That isn't the life she wants for him. Ollie stands his ground, saying the record deserves to be played instead of being sent off to an auction. Isadora gets up and tries to comfort Ollie, but after Charlotte's final insult about her family, she runs out of the barn. Ollie follows her out, with Nikolai quick on his tail. Ollie's angry at Nikolai for stealing from the house, claiming that he isn't part of the family to be taking things like that. Nikolai says that Ollie needs him, and they quickly get into a physical altercation. Nikolai ends up begging Ollie for his forgiveness, but Ollie won't comply. Ollie finds Isadora as he drives down the road and invites her into the car. The downpour outside is heavy, after all. He drives her home. Back at the barn, Nikolai defends Ollie, and Charlotte tells him to play the record again. They might finally be on the same page about the power of this song. Nikolai asks her about something he read in the diary. She tells him that he can't have their life, no matter how much he reads. She urges him to go. He can take anything he wants, he just needs to leave. But she doesn't let him depart without Hal's captain hat. After she puts it on, she asks him to dance with her. And to the tune of Sway Lake, they dance. She kisses Nikolai, and the gesture brings him to tears. Ollie and Isadora arrive at her house. He asks if her name is Lisa like Charlotte claimed. She doesn't answer him. Instead, she asks for him to hug her. Back at the house, Marlena packs the photos in the bedroom. They'll be leaving the house soon, after all. Charlotte enters the room, and when she nears the bed, she breaks down. She sobs uncontrollably, filled with grief and regret, as Marlene holds her. The house is empty and despairful that night. The next morning, Nikolai is up at dawn. His things are packed, and he's ready to leave. Before he goes, he steals one last thing and ends up hearing a group of friends messing around on the dock. He tells them to get off the property, but they're not intimidated by him. They're mad that he messed up the jet skis, and a fight immediately breaks out. Luckily, Ollie makes it to the lake, but it's too late. One of the guys knocked Nikolai over, and on his way down into the lake, he cracked his head open on a boat. Ollie stares at the scene in disbelief, the image of the frozen lake his father into, flashing quickly in his vision. Still, he knows he has to dive in and try to save his friend, if there's even a minuscule chance that he can. Despite not being able to swim, Ollie grabs Nikolai and pulls him up on the dock. Charlotte arrives after hearing the commotion, and she watches Ollie speed away in the boat. By some miracle, Nikolai survived the head injury. He's still in Ollie's arms in the boat when he asks him what engine the boat has. Ollie answers without missing a beat, used to his friend's curiosity, even in the face of danger. He saves him, and they both can't believe it.